another Instagram Live interview. Our guest will be joining us. My name is Aquayemi-Claude, Akinsanya, and this is the Claudes SEN Law Instagram Live and also interview with our guest, Claresa.
Hi. Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear us now,
There you
Claresa?
go. There you are.
Wonderful. That was me. I just had my mute on. But yes, first and foremost, welcome. And I would love for you to introduce yourself to the community, please.
Well, thank you for having me. I am Claresa Baggs. I am a motivational speaker. I am an author, a humanitarian, and a life coach, and a filmmaker.
That's wonderful. And within your experience of the wonderful things that you've been doing and your kind of, journey, what made you start what you are doing currently?
That's a very good question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My primary focus is mental health. And the reason for that is because I grew up in a very abusive household, and from mental, physical, emotional, straight just abuse. And at the age of like 20, 25 days into my 12th birthday, I gave birth to my stepfather's child. And that was the result of years of rape. And when people would find out that I have a child as close in age to me, then their first responses were always, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you got a kid that you've had a kid that young. Oh my goodness, you must have been fast. Oh my goodness, I can't believe you were thinking about boys. Oh, my mom would have killed me if this was going on with me." So the onus and the judgment was always placed at my feet. All the shame was always placed at my feet. And nobody ever took the time to ask, well, who in the world got an 11-year-old child pregnant? Nobody ever asked that question. And through different courses in my life, different paths I've traveled, I've learned that sadly, my story isn't the only one. Sadly, there are so many people around us who have gone through similar, if not worse, than I have. And one day I decided that, okay, so something needs to happen. Something needs to change this. We need to remove this cloak of secrecy. For a lot of young ladies and some young men, it's almost a rite of passage to go through these types of things. And I decided that there had to be a better way. And I just started talking to people, different levels of childhood trauma. And, and I decided that I needed to do something about it. So I started a talk show. From there, I started doing all these different speaking engagements. The talk show was called Still Surviving. And people would come on to talk about the different traumas that they've gone through, but also to talk about how they've come out on the other side. And that's what I want to show people, that there is life after. I don't know what you've gone through, Claude, and I'm sure that for everybody, there's times in our lives where we feel like we are the only ones who are going through this. And the reason for that is because nobody talks about it. You know, people come through their trauma, and what do? They keep their mouths shut, and they just carry on their way. And there's so many people out here who are contemplating suicide. I was one as a child, because I didn't know that other people was going through or had gone through what I was going through. And once we learn to open our mouths, Claude, and speak our truths, then we show people that you are not the only one. We teach people that there is life after, and that you can come through on the other side, and you can be okay. And that is part of my mission, is to teach people that you don't have to do anything destructive to yourself in order to thrive.
That is wonderful, and thank you for sharing that message with my community, and thank you for giving those useful kind of guidance and tips. And where people are currently in America, and also from your perspective, what do you think are the best kind of tools that people can use at a kind of like simple way in your personal experience?
One of the things that we are taught in the United States, and I don't know if it's across the globe, but for Black people, I can only speak for us. We're taught that whatever traumas that we're going through, whatever issues we have, that we keep it to ourselves. You don't go out and talk to these people and tell them your family business. You don't go out and tell them your business. The only people you're allowed to talk to about it is the pastor, the preacher, the priest, or Jesus. That's it. You can't talk to anybody else. So what it does is it perpetuates all these different mental health issues. And we are slowly starting, as Black people, we're slowly starting to accept the fact that we do need help. We do need to speak to people. But my request for people and my desire for people is to open your mouths, speak your truths. And when you do that, then again, people realize, okay, so I don't have to end my life. I can actually get past this. It's going to be a process, but I can get past it. So many times, Claude, people will find out that a friend or family member has committed suicide. And you know, one of the first reactions to hearing that news is, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that she didn't come and talk to me. I did not believe cannot believe that he didn't come and say anything. I can't believe they didn't ask for help. When all the while, we're too busy running our mouths and casting judgments on other people. So
Yeah.
we see Stacy over there, and she's cutting up and she's doing really not so nice things. She may be promiscuous. She may be really being mean and nasty to people. And I'm sitting around talking about Stacy, and I'm talking about, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's doing that, and she's mean, and she's this, and and she's so promiscuous, and she's this, and she's that. All the negative things. And there's a reason that Stacy's doing these things. My friend is sitting next to me, listening to me be judgmental about Stacy, right? So if I'm listening to how negatively you're speaking about this person and whatever the situation is, then why should I talk to you? Because you're my best friend. You're probably my only friend. And this is how you feel. And if this is how you feel, then that's how you're going to feel about me. You're probably going to feel worse about me. So now I have nobody. So I may as well not be here. So we need to guard our tongues and understand that before we open our mouths, assuming things about people, there's a reason everybody does everything that they're doing. There's a reason you're doing what you're doing today, Claude.
Yeah.
Find out what that reason
And would
is.
you, thank you so much. And within those tips that you've given and that kind of words of wisdom, would you say, because of course as we see it's only a split second that somebody can be in a bad space, what are the best approaches for an individual to check out or see if that person's doing okay in your personal experience? And would you say that there are techniques in kind of best advice for others if they're finding that somebody may not be okay, or just to check in?
The first thing you need to do is just what you just said, check in with them. Because a lot of times when people are going through things, they disconnect. You won't hear from them. They may not call. They may not even answer the phone or your text messages. But check in with them. Ask them if they're okay. Just do nice things for them. You never know. The false assumption that we always make is that the strongest person that we see is okay. And they're not necessarily okay. It could be very well be a facade, because I have to put on this face and I have to look like I got it all together. But behind closed doors, I am a mess. So call me, check on me. If you don't hear from me, and if I'm doing something abnormal, because you're my friend, so you kind of know me, you know my habits, you kind of know how I move. If I'm doing something that's opposite of that, check on me, find out what's going on. Now, I may very well, Claude, tell you, oh, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm just having a bad day. And I could just be having a bad day. But if it's consistent, then you need to bully your way into my life and find out what's going on with me, because I may need to talk about it and don't know how to talk about it. Part of the problem is, it goes back to, if I need to talk to you, Claude, and I really need to share something with you because it's heavy on my heart. I can't talk to you. How can I talk to you, Claude, if you're telling other people's business? If you're out telling somebody's confided in you, and you're out there just spreading their business, that don't tell them I told you kind of information. That tells me that I can't trust you. So now I really don't have anybody. So just be mindful of your connections with people. Try to make sure that they're okay. Still make sure you're okay. Keep confidences. If they're telling you something, that is paramount. Because if you want me to be able to confide and trust and share my deepest thoughts, then go ahead and keep those confidences. Check on people and make sure that you follow up with them. Don't just check on them one day and they say they're fine and you go about your business. But at the same time, don't keep checking on people and not check on yourself. A lot of times we fail to take care of ourselves because we're so busy taking care of other people. It's okay to say no. It took me a long time to learn that because I'm the eldest of 16 kids. I'm the eldest. So I'm always taking care of people all my life, but nobody ever took care of me. Nobody checked in on me. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you so much. And also within your own experience, do you feel that there is enough investment when it comes to mental health, or do you feel it's a element of individuals innovating ideas? What's your personal opinion on this?
I don't think that there is enough information out there about mental health. I don't believe that there's enough resources for mental health. Part of the issue with, again, I'm a Black woman, so I can only speak from my experience, from my people. We don't have a whole lot of Black therapists, as many as we maybe should have. And we have this tendency of not wanting to go tell people of other races, don't go tell those white people what's going on in our household. That's how we were raised. So getting more people that look like you and I, or even other races, to be involved and become mental health counselors or therapists or what have you, will help. Our systems here are now starting to focus more on mental health, addiction and such. We're just kind of getting there. We're kind of chugging along, but I think that eventually we will get there. But right now, it's not where it should be. It's not as prevalent. It's not as top of mind as it really, really should be. Particularly when it comes to policing, when it comes to schools. We have kids that, I don't know if it happens there, but we have kids who are going to school that have been traumatized overnight. Something happened at home. They're dealing with this. They go home, they have to go to school, they have no other way of acting out or expressing themselves, excuse me, so they act out in class. We call the police, and we put handcuffs on babies, and we put them in the back of police cars. We're not dealing with this. The teachers aren't trained, and I don't know if we should expect them to be mental health therapists, but I think that there should be some things that they should be looking out for. I don't believe that putting handcuffs on our kids is the answer. We got people who, the police aren't trained for this. They don't know what to look for. They see aggravation and they pull out guns. They see people reacting in the streets in abnormal ways and they pull out a gun because they don't know. But we're now just starting to try to bring in mental health resources, which I think eventually will go a long way, and I'm hoping that we will progress. How is it there?
Yeah, it's not that different. There is an issue with, I think, how authorities treat individuals and individuals of Black heritage and of different backgrounds. We do have an ethnicity issue as well, I think, when it comes to representation. So it's not far off and it's not that different. And what I was going to lead on to even say is, do you think there's an ability of having like training when it comes to mental health, and also qualified individuals and also people that feel represented, especially if you talk about disability or if you talk about race?
I think that we are headed in the right direction. There aren't enough of us. There aren't enough Black and brown people that are in the mental health field yet. And but the other side of that is that even if there were enough, we still need to communicate to the masses that it's okay to seek mental health. assistance.
Okay.
That it's okay to do this. We still don't do this as a whole. Black people, brown people, we don't do it. That's just not something we do. So we're just sticking our toes into it and kind of starting to say, okay, well, this isn't so bad. This might be a good thing. But we have to not only lead the horse to water, but we got to teach them how to drink. So that's a challenge for us.
And is it because we are still learning as we go as well? So there's that element, would you say?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. And would you say, in regards to, because if we talked about like people of, if they experience postnatal depression, for example, I know that, I think there was an element or statistics when it comes to maternity, they don't feel kind of supported. Would you say that there needs to be an element of care for people who was experiencing those kind of conditions or either having those struggles as well, especially?
I believe so. I believe that there's so many different caveats to this that the list would literally be exhaustive of where we need this help and what because some in some areas there are gaps to be filled, but in other areas there's huge holes that need to be filled. Some places it just needs to be uplifted. But as far as our overall mental health challenges, I think that sometimes it's a little depressing because when we turn on the news and we hear about different things, people have, the murder rates, and we hear about issues with authority. In many cases, we can backtrack it and find out that there's some mental health issue related to it. But everybody's not there yet. And everybody doesn't feel, there's not a lot of people that feel like, or that do feel like everything that we're doing that could be perceived as bad, that we're using mental health or mental health illness as an excuse. And it's not an excuse, it's a cause. There's a huge difference in there. But once we change that mindset of not only the normal, regular person, but those authority figures, those figures in politics and in policing and in schools. We've got a pipeline for our kids. They get in trouble in school by third grade. They're looking at, okay, so this is the path that Johnny's going to take before he goes to prison. So those are our challenges.
I'm really interested because I think it's so interesting what you've just said, and also it sounds like we need a kind of like bottom to top approach, and also that element of kind of understanding and level of kind of respect as well, and representation. But I also would like to, because you said that you've done some filmmaking, so within the creative arts, I know that there's been big struggles when it comes to investment. Does America invest into that industry? Because I know that's been a beneficial element for people's mental health to a degree, would you say?
We invest in certain segments. Like I live in Florida. I'm moving to Georgia, but I live in Florida currently. And some of the tax breaks and everything that filmmakers had in Florida were removed. So a lot of the shows that were filmed in Florida were pulled out. They just left because there's no tax breaks. Now I'm moving to Georgia. Georgia is huge on filmmaking, particularly in the Black culture. So a lot of filmmaking here, a lot of opportunities. There is a hope that it will expand. I focus on mental health in a lot of the filmmaking that I do because because this is what I'm passionate about, and because I'm trying to change the world, I'm trying to save some lives, Claude.
Mm.
My, my hope is that it continues in that along that vein, and that more people are paying attention, and more people are talking about it, and more people are filming it and bringing it to more into the spotlight as to what we can, because you can make film about mental health and still be funny,
Yeah.
and still deliver a message. It doesn't have to all be depressing.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm hoping, Claude, you gotta hope with me.
Yeah, I'm sure it's possible. And I think, from one idea that can end up becoming a big impact can be really beneficial. And I'm sure is the ability to bring that change, because personally, I think from what you said, it's equally important to show good stories and stories that are of empowerment as well, within the ability of, kind of not feeling depressed when people are facing challenges already. So what I would love to also ask is, within your project, um, where can people find or support what you are doing?
Our Still Surviving can be found on YouTube, Still Surviving and
Okay,
Walking in Your Purpose, and I'll put some notes out for you. I am
sure.
working on a podcast now and laying the groundwork for it, that will focus on people who are using all of the negative things that they've gone through, all the traumatic experiences they've gone through, and using that to heal other people. So it's cathartic for them, and it's cathartic for the people, whatever missions they're going on, whatever programs they have, they're teaching people about using their voices, and they're teaching people that life doesn't stop at a certain point in your life. And doing that body of work, for the person who's doing it, they're also healing themselves. I have published a book called But First, Forgive Yourself. And that focuses on teaching you that it's okay to forgive yourself for things that you had no power over. I had to learn to forgive myself for the things, even though I shouldn't have to, but for taking on the guilt of everything that happened to me as a kid, and bearing that shame that was not truly mine. I also am a public speaker, so I book speaking engagements. I travel internationally to speak, also across the United States, and I'm looking forward to making more connections and impacting lives. And maybe one day I'll meet you in person.
That sounds like an idea, and we'll keep in contact, definitely. And what I would also love to ask is kind of get a glimpse of your public speaking, and ask you, because I've got a question here. One of the questions is, do you have like a kind of preparation before you do a public speaking event?
I I do. I consider who my audience is, of course, and I consider the message that I'm trying to relay, because depending on who I'm speaking to changes my message. But I also, when I am delivering messages, I tell them in stories. I speak in metaphors, and I try to speak to where people can actually imagine what I'm talking about in order to deliver the message. I have a conversation that I talk to people about. It's called The Mattress. You wouldn't think of having a conversation with people about a mattress, but it talks about life changes, and when you change your life, when you buy a new mattress, Claude, or when you have your old mattress, there's a certain spot that you sleep in, correct? As your spot.
Interesting.
And it's conformed to your body, right? But then when you change and you move to another part of the bed, your body has to get used to it. part of the change and the awkwardness. And we talk about different, I just have different stories, almost sound like parables, but they're not. But in order to motivate people, in order to relay the messages, then I try to speak to people through storytelling to get, so it doesn't seem like I'm preaching to folk, but they get the same message.
Well, thank you so much. And also, who are your inspirations?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I am inspired by people, and it's a number of people, but I am inspired primarily by people who are affecting change in the lives of people who feel like they have no voice, by people who are out here doing the work, not just talking the talk, but actually doing the work to save some lives. I am inspired by people, male and female, who stand up and who speak their truths. Whether they're quaking in their boots, they're still speaking their truths, and they're standing in that, and they're using their voice to set the world on fire.
Thank you. And I asked all my guests this question. The question is, do you believe in world peace?
I do. I do. Now, sometimes, Claude, sometimes I look up to God and I say, "Now, listen, do you see what's going on down here? Because we're down here cutting up. Do you see what we're doing down here? We might need to go in time out or something." But I believe it can happen. I believe that it's going to take a shift in our thought processes. But I also believe that in order to change the world fundamentally and gain world peace, then we're going to have to start with the children. If you can save a child and change a child, then you can change the world.
That is so beautiful. And yes, thank you for your time. Thank you for being a wonderful guest today and for giving some wonderful takeaways for our guests, for our people that are on this live. And yeah, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day. And you're welcome. Thank you to everyone who's joined this live. And our guest today was Claresa, and she is a speaker and also a filmmaker and a wonderful change maker in what she is doing for her community, and also bringing a beneficial awareness when it comes to mental health. So this is the end of this live, and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. You can feel free to say bye to everyone, Claresa, please. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I truly appreciate you. I'm so happy to have been able to do this and share some information, part of my life, with the viewers or listeners. And feel free to connect with me, whoever's out there, and we can have a conversation. I'm always open for conversations, and I'm always open to change lives. We can do it together.
So that's a bye from me, and that's a bye from Claresa. Thank you everyone for listening and joining. This will be available on WeWatch as well. So bye everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.